The Indiana Fever are planning to ship Caitlin Clark to the Los Angeles Sparks. I expect UCLA coach Corey Close to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Sparks. Corey Close, after that championship game that she won with the UCLA Bruins, she's been very adamant. She's been very upfront. Yeah, all this transfer portal stuff, I'm not really sure.
Indiana is prepared to let her go right now. The headline isn't clickbait. That isn't a rumor made up by someone who has too much idle time and a laptop. It's a multi-layered narrative with locked locker room tensions, an NBA insider's shocking post, a quiet meeting in Los Angeles that no one was supposed to know about, and an apéro bench moment that stopped the sports world from scrolling. Therefore, keep in mind that we are discussing more than simply a single player moving towns before you go past this. We are discussing a whole league's future. Perhaps the most important storyline the WNBA has ever developed is the question of who controls the biggest star in women's basketball and where she ends up. This channel covers stories just like this, the ones hidden beneath the official talking points, the well-crafted press statements, and the diplomatic non-answers, so if you're new here, click the subscribe button right now. Let's get started now. It began with a brief, unedited, everyday piece of sideline film that managed to tell a whole story in less than 30 seconds. Sitting on the bench was Caitlin Clark, the star of the Indiana Fever, the player who made WNBA tickets unobtainable, and the subject of a marketing push by the league. Her mouth tight, gaze forward, and that specific stillness that only occurs when someone is trying very hard not to respond were all obvious signs of her body language. After making a comment, head coach Stephanie White motioned for Raven Johnson to take Clark's seat. Clark shook his head slowly and deliberately in response. That was all. That was the time. 13 seconds. Perhaps. No voices were raised. No dramatic altercation. Just a shake of the head. However, millions of people saw that head shake. Compared to nearly everything the squad has to do on the court this season, the footage moved quickly, due to the fact that every viewer was interpreting it in the same way. There's a problem. In the same way that rival sports teams sometimes clash, it's not improper. It's incorrect in a sense that implies a more serious break that can't be entirely healed by a post-game hug. Damage control for the Fever was quick and well organized. The media was informed by Stephanie White that nothing was seen. It was two competitive individuals who both wanted to win, according to Clark herself as she approached the podium. The party line was delivered with practice calm, clarity, and consistency. The problem with public denials in the social media era is as follows. The question is already 3 news cycles ahead of the denial when it arrives. And whether or not Clark and White had argued was not the question that everyone was now posing. It was unclear how deeply ingrained the conflict was and whether it had already permeated the Indiana Fever's organizational culture as a whole. Nearly immediately, the meticulously crafted, nothing to see here story began to shatter, and the break sprang from within the structure. One of the roster's more open-minded personalities, Sophie Cunningham, quietly revealed an information on a podcast that most people ignored but really shouldn't have. You occasionally run with Steph and Cece because they are two fiercely competitive individuals who only care about winning. However, it was all done with the intention of achieving the same goal. Ultimately, we weren't playing well. I don't support what she did. She would say the same thing, and she and Steph get along just great, but I think there's space for improvement in how you react to things. Their connection is like that. They discussed it and gave it a hug later that evening or early the following morning. Things will happen almost every day of the week when you are in highly competitive conditions. However, as I mentioned before, everything we do and say is scrutinized, and someone will use it as a highlight reel. Additionally, I believe that the media frequently divides people when there isn't. She acknowledged that the team had met for what she called a long time following consecutive defeats. She presented it in a tactful manner. She claimed that Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White are fiercely competitive individuals who sometimes disagree, since their goals are identical. She said that they had reconciled, that they had hugged each other, and that everything was well. However, carefully read that again. The relationship is not robust, according to her. The dressing room is not unified, according to her. They're all right, she said. There is potential for improvement in the way issues are handled, she added. She claimed that everything is scrutinized and that not all conflicts are what the media portrays them to be. She also confirmed the lengthy encounter, so all of that is probably genuine. The friction was confirmed by her. Inadvertently, she acknowledged that the official account and the real story are not exactly the same. That's nothing new, but it seems like everyone anticipates that we will depart from where we were a year ago. Yes, we have some of the same players as last year, but we also have a lot of new players who are playing significant minutes for us. I think it just takes a second to get rhythm and chemistry and trust each other, but we have to do it sooner rather than later. Everyone is a little frustrated with how we're playing because we all know we're better than it, but I think sometimes you need this kind of stuff in order to get to the root of the problem of whatnot. Additionally, teams that are truly united do not need to publicly declare that they are truly united after 2 losses. The sheer act of meticulously defending the connection implies that it needed to be defended, and so the rumor machine went into overdrive. Circle the date of June 3rd. Michael Thompson, the father of 4-time NBA champion Klay Thompson and a longtime color commentator for Los Angeles Lakers radio broadcasts, posted something on what was once known as Twitter that instantly, completely stopped all basketball-related social media. This is not some anonymous account or a former player turned podcaster with a grudge. The Indiana Fever no longer desire Caitlin Clark, he wrote, citing a trustworthy source. Within an hour, he doubled down, wrote again, verified that he was hearing the same thing, and openly supported the Los Angeles Sparks as the team that should go get her. On a platform where millions of basketball fans were watching in real time, with his name attached. Since Michael Thompson doesn't do this kind of involvement, the response was immediate and enormous. He is not using controversy to enhance his brand. He is well established in the Los Angeles basketball world, has a steady media career, and has no motivation to make up a narrative that could cause him professional embarrassment if it turns out to be untrue. Michael Thompson emerges and declares, "I've heard from a trustworthy source that the Fever no longer wants Caitlin. Go get her, Sparks. And I'm going to take this at face value till he comes out and admits he's choking. I'm treating this seriously. I do not consider this to be clickbait. He has trustworthy sources, in my opinion. I do think he has contacts in the WNBA. I do think he has contacts with the Los Angeles Sparks. Additionally, I think he has floated it in a similar manner to Dan Dockage. I think Michael Thompson has suggested it. They're not too far away." The sports world does not collectively shrug when someone with his reputation and connections claims to be receiving information from a trustworthy source. It is attentive. Through back-channel sources, the Indiana Fever organization pushed back, claiming that Clark is untouchable and that the trade rumors were unfounded. However, the topic continued despite the league office's deafening quiet and the Fever's strategically ambiguous and well-crafted denial. If anything, it sped it up. If you're an Indiana lover, this is where the tale changed from drama to something much more strategic and eerie. The Fever went to Los Angeles to play the Sparks on May 13th. Prior to that game, Caitlin Clark was in an exceptionally positive frame of mind. For 4 periods of the season, she spoke to reporters with a light-heartedness that had been absent. She grinned. She felt at ease. In one of her best outings in weeks, Clark scored 24 points and dished out 9 assists as the Fever triumphed 87-78. However, the box score did not account for what was purportedly going on off the court. Speaking without permission, a number of sources have claimed that during that trip to Los Angeles, Clark had a private discussion with people associated with the Sparks organization. This was not an official gathering nor a sit-down approved by the league. Just the kind of casual, quiet conversation that occurs when a player begins to imagine what life would be like in a different place, whether on purpose or not. Another week of conjecture could have been sparked by that detail alone. However, after Michael Thompson made his claim from Los Angeles, all the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together to create a picture that was difficult to ignore. Clark's best friend and former Iowa College teammate, Kate Martin, had recently signed a contract with the Sparks. Already on the roster is Cameron Brink, a youthful, adaptable center who can both protect the rim and spread the floor. The fragments that surround Clark, the pieces of solace. Suddenly, the familiar faces were not in Indiana. Southern California was where they were. The basketball community is constantly debating whether that is a coincidence or a tactic. Everyone in the sport is completely aware of this topic, but no one in the mainstream sports media will have it directly. There is a market issue facing the WNBA. A true sports city is Indianapolis. The Fever has a sizable fan base. Due in great part to Clark's presence, the audiences this season have been unprecedented. However, in a league that is frantically attempting to expand its national presence, media deals, foreign reach, and overall cultural imprint, Indianapolis is neither Los Angeles nor New York. Having your most marketable player in a mid-size Midwestern market creates structural stress. In contrast, Los Angeles is everything. It is the nation's second biggest city. It is a worldwide brand. It is the world center of entertainment, where athletes become celebrities and celebrities become more than just athletes. In particular, the Sparks simply become a much more intriguing team. Due to the Sparks' involvement in the larger LA sports scene, the ownership group that bought the Los Angeles Lakers, the same organization linked to the Los Angeles Dodgers, now has financial links to the team. Crypto is the result. Arena. Dodgers money, that is. This implies that a WNBA team may be partnered with one of the world's most potent sports infrastructure networks. You are not creating a basketball team if you put Caitlin Clark in that setting. You are creating a worldwide media enterprise. One of the most outspoken supporters of WNBA player pay is Commissioner Adam Silver. And league growth. Throughout the history of sports, Kathy Engelberg, the commissioner of the WNBA, has been actively seeking for new markets, agreements, and opportunities to raise the league's profile. They wouldn't have to violate any regulations, compel a trade, or arrange a backdoor agreement. All they would have to do is create the circumstances for the market to correct itself, where the most marketable player would eventually gravitate toward the larger platform due to its financial weight. This is how leagues have always operated. A mandate is not always necessary. Sometimes all you need is momentum. Take a moment to set aside the controversy and observe what the Indiana Fever season has truly looked like. The club had high expectations going into this season. They have new players, returning players, and the potential to be a serious competitor. However, a series of defeats, an urgent team meeting, and a tense incident between their head coach and a franchise player went viral. And a series of trade rumors have now created a real credibility issue that the Fever's front staff did not anticipate. In response to the slow start, Caitlin Clark herself stated in public that it takes time to establish rapport with new players, that a team's trust and rhythm do not simply transfer from one season to the next, and that everyone in the building is aware of their potential beyond what they have demonstrated. That's a mature, measured response. Furthermore, a response that might be interpreted in different ways. They are not playing to their maximum since the subtext is obvious. The surroundings are not ideal. Playing below your potential in an uncertain atmosphere is not a long-term agreement you just absorb, especially for a player of Clark's caliber who entered this league with a kind of cultural momentum seldom seen at this level of the sport. The front desk of the Fever openly maintains that everything is great, that Clark is unavailable, and that the sounds is just noise. However, in professional sports, the teams that have to publicly maintain that everything is okay are rarely the ones where everything is. Here, let's be exact. There hasn't been a formal trade offer. No agreement has been reached. The fact that Caitlin Clark is being extensively marketed has not been corroborated by any reliable beat reporter. This is what has occurred. Someone with genuine connections and a legitimate platform made a public statement and stood by it. In a metropolis, a player apparently had a casual talk that would be very beneficial to her profession. Without intending to, a teammate confirmed internal conflict. Visible issues have arisen in a coaching situation that seemed stable. And a Los Angeles ownership structure has subtly established itself as one of the league's most desirable landing locations. That is not insignificant. That is the structure of how these circumstances arise. Quietly at first, then abruptly, in a way that totally surprises an uninformed observer. Whether a trade occurs tomorrow or next week is not the true question. The real question is whether the circumstances for a trade have already been established, whether the league's own market interest, the tension in Indiana, and the opportunity in Los Angeles have all come together to make a move not only feasible but eventually nearly inevitable. Those who know are keeping quiet. It's possible that the speakers are not fully informed. The future of the largest name in women's basketball is being discreetly and carefully determined somewhere in between those two realities. The story can conclude in a few different ways. The Indiana Fever correct whatever is broken in the locker room in the initial version. White and Clark establish a productive working rhythm that results in victories. Clicks in the industry. The team begins to perform as the competitor that everyone anticipated. As the commotion subsides, The entire incident is written off as a difficult part of a lengthy season. The tension is still simmering in the second edition. The outcomes remain inconsistent. The rumors pick up frequency and credibility. Eventually, the organization decides to put long-term organizational health ahead of the short-term optics of being perceived as a destination for the game's talent, whether this trade window or the next. Caitlin Clark subtly expresses her desire for a change of scenery in the third rendition, which is the one that keeps league executives and marketers up at night. Not loudly, not in public, and not in a way that would ruin anyone's reputation. Just enough so that decision-makers can see where things are going. Indianapolis then turns into a formality. In Los Angeles, where Kate Martin is waiting, Cameron Brink already holds a position with one of the most powerful ownership structures in sports, ready to take on the financial burden of the biggest name in women's basketball, so the question shifts from whether she is available to what she is worth. That question may already have a clear solution. We are witnessing a real-time event. It may end quietly. It might blow up in public. However, it is taking place. The bench moment wasn't insignificant. The lengthy meeting was not insignificant. The post made by Michael Thompson was not insignificant. The encounter in Los Angeles wasn't insignificant. Nothing about this is insignificant. Click subscribe immediately and share your thoughts in the comment section below if you want to keep up with this story as it develops, and it will. Do you believe Clark will stay in Indiana, or will LA be the next big thing? Because the discussion taking place in the comment section right now is the most frank analysis available on this platform. If you believe the Fever needs to quickly organize their home, please like this video. We'll see you in the future one. She is the most well-known figure in women's basketball, the most watched player in WNBA history, and a cultural phenomenon who brought an entire league into the spotlight on her own. And there are serious folks with significant connections who are murmuring that.